This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and it's Smackdown time yet again. And this one was obvious. We just had to do it, didn't we? We have the iPad Air 2 over here, the incumbent. It's almost a year old now. And here we have the brand new Samsung Galaxy Tab S2 9.7-inch. Both the same price, starting at $500, $499 technically. Okay, $500 really for the Wi-Fi only versions. Both are available with LTE if you want through carriers. With the Samsung, you have to see if your carrier is going to offer it. With the iPad, pretty much everybody, you can get it with that. Both thin and light tablets, both remarkably fast. Both have gorgeous displays. How do you choose? We're going to help you decide now. All right, so here we have two of the best mobile OS tablets you can buy. This is the iPad Air 2, came out October 2014. It's still the most current one. Apple did indeed recently announce the iPad Pro, but not a replacement for the iPad Air 3. So we'll stick with that one for now. This has the Apple A8X CPU clocked at 1.5 gigahertz. The Samsung, our friend right here, is the Samsung Galaxy Tab S2 9.7. It has Exynos CPU inside, clocked at 1.9 gigahertz with 1.3 gigahertz companion low power cores. Interestingly, on benchmarks, the iPad Air still does a little bit better there. Now, it's not a huge difference, and they are running different operating systems, so your experience could be different on them, but point number one for comparison right there, the older iPad Air is still a little bit quicker on benchmarks. Experientially, they're actually both quick. Samsung has really improved their game here with using TouchWiz on top of Android 5.1, by the way. And it's a very responsive and fast tablet. It plays well for gaming. You can watch our video review and see me going through Asphalt 8 on it, and that's demanding enough game. iPad, typically always a quick OS. They do a lot to optimize, making it feel like everything is darn zippy on it. 2 gigs of RAM on the iPad Air, which for Apple is a lot in a mobile product, versus 3 gigs in the Samsung. One could argue that TouchWiz adds to the RAM requirement, and I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Apple put more RAM in there so you get a little bit more fluid multitasking sometimes. Not that it bogs down and gets slow, but so it doesn't have to close down apps as much or reload web page tabs, that sort of thing. So a little bit more RAM in the Samsung. I would say that I personally like the way Android handles multitasking better. With their little multitasking button, and you can bring all of your stuff up right there very quickly, versus Apple's double click on the home button kind of thing. I find Android doesn't save state as well as iOS. I haven't had as much problem with word processing and working on a document and having my changes not saved because memory management decided just suddenly to close it down on Android. But there you have 6 one, half a dozen the other. With the iPad, it's going to, for sure, generally speaking, save your work. With Android, the multitasking experience, I think, is a little bit more intelligently done. Plus, Samsung has multi-window, where you can have 2 windows going side by side, which is a pretty neat feature in and of itself. And if you want to bring up a second window, and just tap on the multitasking, and we'll bring up something from here. We just touch the little multitasking symbol right there, and there you have it, split screen view. Something that the iPad Pro is going to have, but we don't have on the current iPad 2. You'll notice how similar these look. Well, they're both 4:3 aspect ratio. Gone is the widescreen Android approach, at least for the Tab S2, not in general for all Android tablets. So they are just about the same size and the same weight. The Samsung is actually a hair thinner and a hair lighter. Both are available in your choice of white, gold, or a black. And it's kind of a matte finish on the Samsung, not shiny, just like with the iPad. Super AMOLED display, same resolution here versus high-quality IPS LCD. The Super AMOLED display is just stunning. It's so colorful. I mean, that picture there just looks ooh, ah. If you're looking at any photo site, you're just going to think every photo is ingeniously beautiful. That said, that the iPad Air 2 has one of the best IPS LCDs that you're going to find. So while I look at most LCDs after looking at a Samsung AMOLED display and I feel let down, I don't really feel so let down. And for those of you who say, but Samsung Super AMOLED is overcolor saturated, remember Samsung does have color profile settings you can choose from, so you can choose an accurate display. So I leave this one up to you. I think either way you're getting some of the best stuff on the market. So there's that. It's understandable if you like that Samsung AMOLED look. I mean, it is a gorgeous thing. They're both very bright. They're both viewable outdoors. When we switch to the back view right here, the Samsung is genuine plastic, but it's a very nicely done plastic. Again, available in black, white, or gold. The lines are clean on this. The frame is actually metal, so there's a little highlight of metal around it. It's sort of like the Note 4. It's painted to match the body color elsewhere. It's nice, it's thin, it's light, it's insanely light, in fact. Now the iPad Air 2, as we all know, is aluminum on the back. A little bit prone to scratching though, so keep that in mind. I tend to keep it in a case because of that. Also thin, also very light, also very good looking, just not quite as thin, quite as light. That's a pretty close race here. I think most people would probably still say the iPad Air 2 looks like the more quality product because just something about metal and glass that looks pretty cool. But that Samsung is also pretty nice looking. It sure doesn't look like a budget craptastic tablet. Now for cameras, both of these have 2.1 megapixel front-facing cameras, and they have 8 megapixel rear cameras in the corner with the iPad. Kind of, I think, an odd placement always when they put it over there, but then again, the ergonomics of taking any photo or video with the tablet are not so ideal because they're kind of big, and here with the Samsung, it is centered. Now, the Samsung can shoot up to 2K video or QHD video. The iPad Air does 1080p video, so you do get a bit higher resolution with the Samsung. Overall quality from both of these is actually quite similar for the front and rear cameras, so sorry there, it's another wash. Next up is expandability. You can barely see it here, particularly on the white model, but there's a little pokey hole for a micro SD card slot compatible with cards up to 128 gigs. That makes this feel a little bit more PC-like and expandable. I certainly like that. I like to be able to pop out my camera's card. In fact, I often use a SD card in my camera that's really with a micro SD card in an SD card adapter, so I can then throw it in my tablet to proof the images. I mean, you got a nice 9.7-inch screen like this. Who wouldn't want to do something like that if you could? We also have a USB 2.0 port, and it does support USB host. So that means you can use USB flash drives, low power external hard drives, the little portable kind. You can't use every USB peripheral in the world because things do need drivers. So if you have a LTE dongle, there's likely not going to be any Android drivers for that. But for some mass storage solutions, as long as they don't require too much power, like big old-fashioned portable hard drives that actually used to draw more power, that could be a problem. If you're using an external CD-ROM, you actually could do that, though. The big old-fashioned kind that plugged into AC outlets, because they're supplying their own power that way. Interesting thing. Now, the iPad, the expansion has always been, in terms of storage, the weak thing here. There is no USB traditional port. We have a Lightning port here instead, so obviously no USB host. We're looking at dongle adapters right away with this, and there is no card slot. Now, there is a bunch of adapters and stuff that you can get, though. For 29 bucks, you can get an SD card reader for this. There are third-party CF card readers for like $15. You can get a Lightning to USB cable, but the trick is Apple really designed that mostly for use with digital cameras, and make sure you turn USB charging feature off on the camera, or you're going to get this accessory draws too much power error message. Some people use it for MIDI as well. The iPad's pretty picky about how much power the USB device draws, though, so that's the caveat with that. It really is designed mostly for cameras, so you're looking at the cloud transfer a lot of the time for the iPad if you want to get your content on and off of this. Or, you could plug it into your computer in iTunes. How old-fashioned is that? Now, the other half of that story is app selection and accessory selection, like all the card readers, the cables I just mentioned. If you're the kind of person who loves to accessorize, it's totally going to be Apple for you because, gosh, there's just an insane number of cases, keyboards. You can get a different keyboard for every day of the week for an iPad Air, honestly. There's audio interfaces, pro audio, DJ stuff, MIDI things, and that is pretty impressive. Cases, of course, galore, but with the Samsung, pretty much it's going to be what Samsung makes. There'll be some third-party cases for our Samsung as well, and Samsung does have a keyboard case, kind of turns it into a little stand at the same time, too. It's clever. There won't be nearly as many accessories for the Samsung, so if you're the kind of person that has a need for those accessories or just loves to buy those kinds of things, the iPad Air is going to win. Now, last thing that's going to figure in here is your app selection. We know the story. I love Android a lot, but the tablet app selection is still really very slim. So a lot of apps are just going to run full screen. They're going to be phone apps just blown up. So they're not going to look particularly high resolution. They're not going to use the screen real estate well. Now, there are all the built-in apps do, of course, use the tablet interface nicely and use the screen layout well. And if you're just mostly buying this to watch video, YouTube will use full screen. Netflix has a tablet-style app. The Microsoft Office suite makes use of the screen just fine. And so it's for those of you who are looking at Instagram, Facebook, all those sorts of things. Actually, Instagram's kind of a loss on the iPad too. So that one is just a loss total. But anyway, more tablet apps, more high quality games for the iPad. And in fact, let's just look at the Play Store. We're thinking about something like Adobe Apps. Now, Adobe's really hitting the iPad hard, understandably. Here first on the Samsung, which we have upside down at the minute. Let's put it right side up. Nice accelerometer right there. There's a good selection. You got Adobe Lightroom Mobile, you got Acrobat, you got Photoshop, you got Air, fill and sign for forms. It's not bad at all. It's a pretty healthy selection. It's just not everything that Adobe offers and everything that you're going to find on the iPad. So here it is on the iPad, a different way of presenting content over here, but we have a couple of neat things, like even a desktop publishing program. Adobe Illustrator. There's just even more stuff. So if you're hot and heavy into the Adobe ecosystem, neither platform offers what the desktop will in terms of capabilities, power, and overall features. But if you find use for the mobile apps, boy, there's still going to be more for the iPad. In terms of speakers, they both have bottom-facing stereo speakers. They both sound equally just okay. They're tablet speakers. They're not really that impressive. When it comes to battery life, Samsung, to make the S2 even thinner, smaller, and lighter, actually decreased the battery capacity compared to the previous generation of the S2. And battery life is the sore point for this. So far, I've been getting 4.5 to 5 hours of actual screen on time, and that's with auto brightness enabled. And auto brightness is pretty conservative, so it keeps it a little on the dark side, and it's mostly indoor use. I'm not standing under the sun and forcing it to be bright. Wi-Fi's on. And with the iPad, Apple claims 10 hours, and they tend to be close to spot on instead of overly optimistic. And indeed, I get just about actual 10 hours of use time in the same use case, auto brightness enabled, Wi-Fi on, mostly productivity, web browsing, streaming an hour episode on Netflix, some YouTube videos, a couple of photo edits, that sort of thing. So if battery life is important to you, both of these do have sealed batteries, so you're looking at USB cables, lightning cables, or battery packs to charge them on the go, the iPad Air is going to be the winner. So there you have it, the Apple iPad Air 2. So far, Apple hasn't announced a replacement for it, so it's still the current one to compare with the brand new Samsung Galaxy Tab S2. And as you see, the most important thing is going to be, do you want Android or do you want iOS? If you have a strong preference, well, then it's a no-brainer. The second thing is going to be accessorization. Apple products are all about accessorization. The accessories have accessories at this point. It's just insane for the Apple iPad. All sorts of things you can do, given a whole lot of accessories. With the Samsung Galaxy Tab S2, it's bound to remain a lot slimmer. Of course, it does have some advantages, like that micro SD card slot built in, USB host, so you don't need no darn USB cable adapter, do you? Anyway, either way, you're getting two of the finest tablets on the market. Obviously, Apple has no competition. They're the only ones that make iOS and iPad, so it's the best 10-inch iPad you can currently buy. And with the Galaxy Tab S2, there's some other competitors there. The Nexus 9 never wowed anybody. The Dell Venue 10 7000 is a pretty nice tablet too, but I still think that probably a lot of people are going to go for this as the thin, light, more conventional design among Android tablets. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to watch our video reviews of each of these products, read our written reviews, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.